This daily market update has been brought to you by Daily Wealth Report. Trading involves risk of loss and may not be suitable for you. Past performance is no guarantee or reliable indication of future results. All advice and education content is of the nature of general information only and must not in any way be construed or relied upon as legal, financial, or personal advice. Good morning, traders and investors. It's Wednesday, the 12th of September, and we've had some interesting activity overnight with the UK market failing to gain any traction, whereas the rest of Europe actually rallied quite strongly, and the US markets were a little bit mixed, a little bit of uncertainty still hanging around at the moment ahead of the Federal Reserve statement for monetary policy just in a couple of days' time. Starting off with the UK FTSE, we can see here that it was virtually unchanged. It had gapped down early in trading, but spent the rest of the afternoon rallying back to break even. Closed at 5,792 points. The German DAX, on the other hand, did find some stronger buying activity. You can see here a push into some new long-term highs. It closed up 1.3% or 96 points at 7,310. The French CAC 40 wasn't as strong, however, it still did show some reasonable buyer activity. Again, it was down early in the session, but closed higher in the last couple of hours. It gained 31 points, 0.9%, closing at 3,537. In the US, the Dow Jones Index was higher. It was up 69 points, or 0.5%. This has just brought it back towards its previous long-term highs, so it's now back at that resistance level. It had come off a little bit from its intraday high, but it closed at 13,323. So the key now will be whether it actually attempts to break through, as it forms a higher low point. If not, this bullish engulfing pattern that has formed in the last two sessions might actually just be a false signal. So we need a confirmation of the breakthrough first before we start jumping on board any really long-term long positions. The Nasdaq index was up 0.5 of a point, so that's fairly unchanged, closing at 3,104. We can see the technology stocks there not really favoring buyer activity. The S&P 500, a broader review of the US markets, was up 4 points, or 0.3%. That just recovered half of the previous day's decline, and there was a bit of a shadow on top of the overnight candle, so that just reflects the slightly weaker markets in the afternoon, where it had traded up to its intraday high about midday. That closed at 1,433. The surprising factor is that the VIX index actually gained, even though the markets were broadly up. Now, this still reflects a little bit of uncertainty from the markets heading into the FOMC statement in a couple of days' time. So the VIX index was up 13 cents, or 0.8%, closing at $16.41. It is a weak movement from the buyers, but still a reflection of uncertainty, considering the other leading indices had all rallied. The ASX 200 was down slightly on Tuesday. It had lost 7 points, closing at 4,326. You can see here on the chart that it's a very weak movement following declining buyer momentum over the previous sessions. If we get a solid downwards day, this would actually result in a lower high point and a change in trend conditions. However, the shadow on the bottom there does also reflect weakness from the sellers yesterday, so there was a bit of a bounce back in the afternoon. The SPY futures are pointing to a 21-point higher open, but that has come back a little bit from where it was earlier in the session, after the US market close. So there is a little bit of uncertainty still creeping in towards what's going on in the US. Again, it's all based around the FOMC meetings. Okay, so that's our summary for Wednesday, the 12th of September. We look forward to giving you an update again tomorrow.